Welcome to the Uncle's Channel. Thanks for watching today, and let's continue our journey to finish every single Game Boy and Game Boy Color game. Today focused on a game called Shantae for the Game Boy Color. Now, as a franchise I've always heard a lot of things about, or great things about rather. I just simply never played any of the entries on my own, and it's a real shame because this is one of the best platformers that the Game Boy Color does have to offer. But there's a reason for that. It's the third to last game that was released on the system, a year into the Game Boy Advance life cycle, and so they knew what they were doing when it came to pushing the hardware to the max here. But it's also the reason this game is mostly forgotten about, because there are only 25,000 copies published of the game. And so pretty much no one bought it at the time. It became a cult classic, got revived later on, more sequels and whatnot, some remakes as well. And now it has a full standing as one of the all-time gaming greats. Who knows, she might even appear in Super Smash Bros. At some point if she reaches that particular gaming level. But overall, this is a franchise that was created by a husband and wife team. Wife did all the designs for it, husband did the programming for the game, and they created their own little franchise pretty much out of nothing, which is a rags to riches story of sorts, which I always enjoy hearing about. But it is not a documentary of Shantae. It is simply a review of the game. And like I said, it has a lot of charm to it. You can transform into an elephant, a spider, a monkey, some sort of a flying bird, griffin type creature. I'm not really sure what you transform into here. You can tell me in the comments down below. But as you travel through here, some excellent dialogue, some funny jokes, and just simply an overall great game for the system and a great game in general. We're going to dive into all that and more as we journey through Shantae for the Game Boy Color. Now, this particular game did get moved up in the queue a bit because Travis Depew 2280 requested I cover it sooner than later, so I moved up in the queue. If there's a game that you want to see me cover sooner than later, let me know the name of the game in the comments down below, and just like Shantae, I'll move it right on up. Now, I always start the videos up looking at the box art for the game first, and the box art for Shantae, as much as I enjoy the actual game, the box art I don't really think is that great here. It just simply has Shantae on the cover, says the title of the game below her, and it doesn't have like any of the fun elements of the game, like transforming any of the creatures I mentioned earlier, any of the wacky enemies you're going to come across, any of the worlds. I mean, it's just simply very much of a bland background behind her. And even like the logo here, like where it says Shantae, it looks like it's clearly meant to have like a subtitle to the game. And when they do put out the sequels, they actually do use the empty space down below for the subtitle. And so I can't help but think like this game here, since the font is so high up on the logo, there was meant to be a title below it, like maybe like The Adventures of a Half Genie or something like that. I'm probably overanalyzing the logo here, but it just really feels like there's an empty space that needs to be utilized for something. But that's not my main critique here. I think the overall cover of the game is just simply not a great display of the wacky world or the charming world that the game has to offer. So a average cover at the best. Now when you load the actual game up here, the title screen is fairly bland, very similar to the box art of the game. However, there is one fascinating feature. If you look in the bottom left hand corner, it says GBA Enhanced. So if you take the cartridge and put it in a Game Boy Advance system and go to the last town, you can learn one dance that's exclusive to the Game Boy Advance, and it's the only way to get that particular dance. And more importantly, this is one of only 4 games that actually has Game Boy Advance features for the Game Boy Color. The other one was also developed by WayForward called Windy, and the other 2 are the Oracle games of the Zelda series. And once again, this is not a documentary on Shantae. I just simply wanted to throw out some extra information about the Game Boy Advance features. Now, when you begin the actual story mode here, you are a half genie who's put in charge of protecting your village of Scuttle Town. You live in your little hut over here to the left-hand side, and all of a sudden in the background, a pirate by the name of Risky Boots begins to fire off cannonballs at your hut and Scuttle Town in general. And so you now need to rush out and warn all the villagers of what's going down. And so we have like a little intro level here where I'm trying to run across the foreground and dodging all of the cannonballs that Risky Boots is firing off in the background. And it's a true testament like how good this game actually looks on the Game Boy Color to have a full detailed background, full detailed foreground, cannonballs traversing the middle way here, shadows of the cannonballs, explosions in the bridges here. This is a really fantastic looking game, and it's only going to get better as we go. But when you get to the end of the little bridge area, you are confronted by Risky Boots herself, and she says that the reason that she has chosen to attack your town in particular is because there's a character named Mimic, and he has created what's called the steam engine. And the steam engine, she wants to power her ultimate evil machine to try to take over the world. And so she's trying to basically steal that steam engine. And so now we have like a second intro level here where we actually get to attack and fight some enemies off. And we're traveling through Scuttle Town ourselves. And you can see that the town's been thrown mostly into chaos here. The villagers are freaking out, trying to flee the village. We go further into it. We're going to encounter Risky Boots' minions here called Tinker Bats. And they are adorable little creatures. Yes, they have enough resemblance to bats because they are bats, but they have a little pirate bandana on top of them, and they are just a fantastic creation of an enemy here. I honestly don't know why Tinkerbats are not part of more pop culture than what they are, because they are amazing little creatures, and they are of course trying to attack you as you go, and there are some great animations for them as well. It's not just simply normal attacks. You can also see them like in the background at one point. They got like a little battering ram trying to smash into into a door. And also the background animation of that has an effect on the actual game, because then like little bricks come out on the side of the wall for every smash, and you have to hop on every individual brick as it comes in and out of the wall to traverse the wall to get up to the top. And so instead of just simply having a mechanic where, you know, the bricks disappear like in a Mega Man game for literally no reason whatsoever, they actually try to put like a background reason for it. And so like there's so much forethought put into this game. It definitely feels far ahead of its time, at least for a Game Boy Color game. And I almost forgot to include one of the most important mechanics of the game, and that's how to attack these Tinkerbats and all the enemies that you're going to encounter. And that's that you can fling your hair out in front of you, almost like a whip in Castlevania, and you can simply hit the enemies that way. There are other attacks you're going to get as the game progresses if you want to unlock them, or you could go through the entire game with this single one attack and be pretty much just fine throughout the entire experience. But that is the signature attack for Shantae that carries on through pretty much every game of the franchise, at least to my knowledge. But as we do progress through the town here, it does continue to delve further and further into its realm of chaos. You know, flames begin to overtake all of the village here. We finally get up to Mimic's house. The Tinkerbats that go into his house, steal his steam engine, blow the house up. We are tasked with following them to try to get the steam engine back. We rush off to the right-hand side. We confront Risky Boots once again. She's already on her boat, and now we have to fight our first boss battle against Risky Boots. Now, we're not going to actually battle against her herself. We're going to be more fighting against the boats to try to prevent her from escaping. And so we're going to try to avoid the cannonballs while also attacking the engine on the right-hand side. And truth be told, if you just simply duck down or basically hover over to the far right-hand side, the cannonballs cannot hit you. It's a very easy first stage of the boss fight. The second stage is a little bit more difficult because you're cast out of the boat here, and the Tinkerbats are trying to throw bombs down on top of you, and you simply have to hop up and swing your hair around, hit them while they're still holding the bomb to blow them up. And once you've done that enough times, you've defeated the overall boss battle. However, it was not enough, and Risky Boots is still going to be able to escape. And she says that she will be back because our town has evidently not been paying its sea tax like we're supposed to. And tax evasion, as we all know, is a terrible crime, and it needs to be punished inside of a fun kids game. So now we go back to our main town here. We talk to Mimic, we talk to the villagers. The mayor's all excited. He's like, thank you for saving us for what little you did, but please do more because we got to defeat Risky Boots. And they're so excited to have a genie on their side. And I'm like all paranoid because like I'm technically a half genie, and I've lied to them and said I'm a full genie. And so I'm like, I'm not sure I can really protect them the way I need to. And so I have a lot of self-doubt inside the game as well. And that's the overarching storyline or background story, because I'm trying to prove to myself as well as save the village that I'm good enough to be a genie. But at this point, I do talk to Mimic some more, and he basically breaks down exactly how a steam engine works, almost like a science class here. I guess they really want to make sure you understood fully what Risky Boots' motivation was of why she needed the steam engine. They don't want you questioning the motivations here. So we get a full breakdown. I'm surprised they didn't like break out like little diagrams and whatnot, because they went on for a while about how a steam engine continues. Now, before we head off to Watertown, we do need to explore Scuttle Town a little bit more. And the gameplay is going to change 100% here, because now it's a third-person view behind Shantae, and you basically get to rotate or pan around the town here and choose different buildings that you want to go into to talk to different villagers. This gameplay mechanic is very similar to the game Oregon Trail or Oregon Trail 2. When you go into like a town, you talk to all the different villagers, and you sort of pan around and figure where you want to go next. It's more of a PC game mechanic than it's going to be a Game Boy Color mechanic, but still it fits very natural for this particular area. Now, as far as like the buildings that you can go into one HUD here where you can save your game. There's a really interesting looking wise sage who's going to help you save it. I feel like these are like little white hair sticking out the back, but it almost looks like he's wearing like a cosplay of like a dinosaur or a T-Rex. I don't know, that may just be me. You can also go into like a bathhouse if you want to get into the bath water, heal yourself up, you know, replenish all of your hearts. You can also go into an item shop here and you can shop different items. Every town's going to have different items. They're going to vary between like different vials to heal yourself up on your journey, extra powerful attacks, or just simply permanent upgrades as far as like new attacks that you can learn. But we're going to get to all of those here in a little bit. There's also a building with a giant squid inside, and she says that if you find her 4 babies, that she will grant you a warp dance to that particular town. And that's going to be a very handy mechanic, because if you find the baby squids throughout the dungeons we're going to get to in a second, bring them back to her, you can learn the dances and you can warp to pretty much any town that you want to, as long as you've rescued the appropriate squids. And so it's going to make the backtracking in the game a heck of a lot easier. But once you're done exploring the town here, then you can go over to the town gates, you can exit out, and now we're back into the 2D environment, and we're heading off to the right-hand side here, heading off to Watertown. Now, the first little area you're going to come across here is called Scarecrow Meadow, or at least that's what I'm going to call it anyway. And there's all these little demon demon gophers that hop out of the ground. They got these little spears they try to throw down at you. If you're standing too close to them when they hop out of the ground, you are going to get hit. But if you just simply stand back a little bit, once they throw their 3 little spears down, then you sort of start walking to you like a little penguin trying to find its mom. And all you have to do here is swing your hair out there, hit them, and they fall over on their back, hit them again, take them out, and you can get coins for taking your enemies out. Occasionally you'll get a heart, but 99% of the time you're going to get 1 coin out of these enemies, and you can save those coins up to buy things inside the item shop that we mentioned earlier. But after you've taken out enough of the demon gophers here, you do continue on to the cornfield. The scarecrows are going to come out and try to attack you. And I do believe they are possessed by the tinkerbats here, because look at the head of the scarecrow. That looks just like the tinkerbats from earlier, like a little straw cap on top of him. I mean, they're basically just playing dress up here, which once again just gives more credence to why they are the most adorable creature inside this game. But as you continue on here, I do find something called a firefly. And if you collect, I think, 20 fireflies in the game, you do get something special. I didn't collect all 20, so I'm not really sure what you get if you collect them all. If you know, you can let me know in the comments down below. But they are scattered throughout the entire environment. You can backtrack through all these once you learn different powers to try to find every firefly in the game. But as you continue on here, you do come across the forest. I immediately encounter a enormous flying demon here. Takes tons of hits to actually take out. And when you take him out, like, he still only drops like either a 1 coin or a 5 coin. And this is a complaint I'm going to have like further on in the game too. Like, even the bigger enemies, they don't actually drop bigger rewards. So there's like almost no motivation to actually try to take them out instead of just simply running past them. But regardless, there's a giant flying demon in this area. There's also like little spiders that come down from the trees, fire little shots off at you, and you can really explore the forest area quite a bit here because you can climb all the way up into the trees. You can take the bottom part of the forest. The game has a lot of exploration in these particular areas because once again you're trying to find like all the different secrets for like fireflies or heart containers and such as that as you go. Now eventually you're going to make your way to the water shrine here at the edge of the forest, and when you get there, there's nothing that you can do because it's not unlocked yet, so you have to continue on to Water Town. Now when you get to the next area, it's going to have like a giant waterfall coming down in the background, and there are what I'm going to call Magikarp frogs hopping around, because I don't know what else to describe this as, because it looks like a fish or a Magikarp from Pokemon mixed with a frog, and it's just hopping like crazy. Very, very odd here. But as you jump down the waterfall, like little serpent heads can come out and try to attack you. I don't think you can actually attack the serpent heads themselves. I think you just simply have to avoid them. Off to the left and off to the right are going to be little holes in the mountains where like little snake creatures are going to drop out. Once again, they are just as adorable as the Tinkerbats. I don't think there's any relation to them. Maybe they're like Tinkerbat larvae or something. Maybe like the Tinkerbats are not technically bats. They're like insects, and there's like the early form of them. I feel like we're going down a Shantae lore offshoot here that's probably not accurate anyway. They're probably just snakes that are coming out of the wall, but still they have the same adorable eyes as the Tinkerbats. And it just goes to show like how rich this game is as far as like putting details in for all these different creatures and all these different levels. I mean, already we've just been outside of the main hub here for no more than probably like 10 minutes, and we've encountered like 7 or 8 different enemies, and they're going to get more and more as we go throughout the game. They rarely ever repeat as you're journeying through here. But eventually you do make your way all the way over to Water Town, and when you get inside Water Town, it's going to do the exact same setup as a Scuttle Town here. You can simply pan to the left, pan to the right, go into all of the main buildings from Scuttle Town as well. So like the item shop is here, the bathhouse is here, the warp squid house is here, the save shack is here. All these are pretty much exactly the same, but there's going to be one difference. You have the Baloo gazebo, and this is your next main story progression here as far as like the characters that you need to talk to. So we rush off to the gazebo here. We discuss with Baloo the Dribble Fountain, Risky Boots, all the stuff that's going on, and we find out that Baloo's already given Risky Boots full access to Dribble Fountain because he already fell in love with her. He just simply cannot say no to pretty girls. He already gave her full access to it, feels guilty about it, but then says that he will help us as well and says to meet him at Dribble Fountain. So we have to backtrack a bit to get to the fountain. He does let us in, but once we get in there, Risky Boots is already taken her presents. She disappears through a hole in the ground, but we can't follow that way, so we have to bust a sewer grate open with our hair here off to the right hand side, and we can journey into Dribble Fountain. Now once we get in here, it's a great sewer looking level, or great sewer aesthetics here. We have little crabs that are going to be coming across to try to attack. We also have like little electrified spider platforms that sort of open up, have electrification, then close back down, and that's when you can hop on to traverse the level here. We also have like a Hydro Man type creature or Hydro Woman type creature who basically can turn to a puddle of water and slide from one side of the room to the other, come back up and try to attack you. Only encountered one of her, so I guess she was like more of a mini boss inside the level, but yet she's still there. But the most memorable enemy inside this labyrinth here is going to be this little shark creature. Has like one eye in the front, and when you basically take your hair and you blast him in the eye, it bursts his eye, and then you have this empty socket, and you just keep blasting away with your hair here until he basically explodes. And he's a really weird enemy, but at the same time, it's a really entertaining animation. So like anytime I encountered him, I simply engaged in the fight just so I could watch it happen all over again. But as you're journeying through here, you do find some of the warp squids throughout, and like I said, if you collect 4 of these and take them back to the main town you're at. In this case, Water Town. Take them to the Mama Squid. She'll give you a warp dance to go back to that town at any time that you want to. Now, as you're going through here, there are some puzzles inside the dungeon or inside the labyrinth, and all the puzzles are pretty much exactly the same. They're going to be these little spinny things, and all you have to do is jump up and hit them, and they spin around to change the pattern. And throughout the level, you're going to find like hints of what the pattern is going to be, and once you get the pattern correct, then it's going to give you a key to unlock a door. And so you're basically solving puzzles, getting keys, opening door, finding more puzzles, solve them, get keys, open the door, and continue on throughout the labyrinth. The only one that was like a little bit on the hard side is the actual stone rotation piece was way up in the level, and you had to have like a 2-minute segment of you just basically dragging or hitting the stone piece in front of you all the way down to get it actually on the I don't know, the pillar itself in order to turn it here. And so there is some variation as far as like, you know, the level design, but for the most part, it's fight enemies, defeat the puzzle, get a key, continue on to advance. And as you are advancing, eventually you're going to come across a guardian genie, and if you talk to her, she's going to teach you a specific dance. And if you basically press the select button and then follow the dance pattern that she showed you, you can transform into a monkey. It's called the monkey dance. And if you ever forget like any of the dances, you can go to your start menu, press B, you can review all the dances that you've had. And so basically you press the select button, and then for the monkey you have to press the down and then the right button to get the dance to work. But there's not like a tutorial to show you like really well how the dance works inside the game. And so I was trying to do it like down right as fast as I could to get the dance to work, and I never could get it transformed into the monkey. It felt very random, but it turns out there's like a little music note and 4 boxes behind that at the bottom of the screen, and what you want to do is simply press the individual button you need to push for the first note of that rotation. So you press the down button and then wait for it to go through, then press the right button when it gets back to the start, and then wait for it to go through, and then you will transform into the monkey. It took me a probably solid like 20 minutes to finally get the dancing down pat, but once you do understand it, it is very easy to do inside the game, comes very natural, but it does take a little while to figure it out. And I feel like some players out there might never have figured it out very well and possibly put the game down. I don't know, like maybe I'm over exaggerating how difficult it was, but for me, it was like a solid 20 minutes to figure out like actually how to get transformed into the monkey. But once you are transformed into the monkey, it just pretty much opens the doors for exploration in the level, because now you can climb the walls, you can hop on the walls, you can go into itty bitty spaces that you normally couldn't go into, you can find like little holes in the ceiling to hop up into and explore that way as well. It just simply opens the doors completely for exploration, but not only in the labyrinth here, but also throughout the overworld at the same time. But we're mainly focused on the labyrinth here, and so as we're journeying through it with the monkey, eventually we get to a high enough platform, we go through the doors here, and now we get to encounter Risky Boots, who's getting ready to steal the Dribble stone. Now she wants to use the stone and have a constant water supply for her steam engine, once again giving us that little science lesson of how a steam engine works. And basically before she can take the Dribble stone, a enemy or a giant boss comes out, a guardian of the stone of sorts, pushes her out of the way, and we have to fight this giant jellyfish, one-eyed squid looking creature here. And it's a really easy boss fight. All you have to do is just simply jump up, flip your hair at the eyeball, it makes him go spin a little bit, comes back around, hit the hair again, hit the eyeball again rather, and you can have him taken out in no time. Probably even easier than the tutorial boss in the game. But once you take him out, you do get the Dribble stone, and now you have the first of 4 stones that Risky Boots is trying to capture. And so this sort of sets us on a path inside the game here of we're basically going to explore the overworld to find these different labyrinths, to find the stones before Risky Boots. And there will be 3 more that we need to collect. Ogle's channel
will return after these messages. We now return to the
Ogle's channel. Now, before I continue on the journey too much more, I do go back to Water Town, and I do go to the item shop, and I get a permanent upgrade here, and I get the one called Boots, and it basically allows me to press the up button twice, and I can do like a little kick up in the air and attack some enemies that way. I do use this move sometimes, but some of the other upgrades I unlocked later on in the game where you like jump up in the air and do like a spin move and sort of do like a downward kick. I don't use that one very often, and I do get like a charge move, and I don't think I ever used the charge like maybe like once or twice inside the entire game. It usually ends up hitting me while I was waiting for it to charge up. And so as far as like moves you want to purchase, I would probably just buy the Boots move and save the money elsewhere for different items inside the game. But regardless, I end up buying them all eventually. I also give the 4 warp babies to the mother squid here. She gives me a warp dance, so it's going to be the same way. You press select, follow through the little dance coordinations here, and then you can warp back to Watertown at any time you need to. But my next instructions are I need to head to Oasis Town, which is on the other side of Scuttle Town, so I have a lot of backtracking to do to go back to Scuttle Town and then continue in the other direction. And so as I'm going back through here, now that I have the monkey unlocked, I can of course get to new platforms. I can now get different fireflies, I can get different heart containers, and so it's like a Metroidvania in that aspect because you're getting different power-ups as you go. That's going to allow you to collect different items and unlock different paths. Now when I do get to Scuttle Town, there is one area I had not explored yet, and that is the dance hall contest. And if you go into the dance hall contest, you can basically practice your dance skills. You get onto a stage here, the patrons are going to throw money at you, and on the right hand side there's like a little column of arrows that are going up, and there's a little block at the top, and if you just simply press the D-pad at the right time, you're going to do that dance move. And if you do the entire dance all the way through, then you get a prize. And there's different rankings. There's like E tier, D tier, C tier, B tier, and then there's A tier. I could do E through B. A tier is like impossible. It is just simply zooming through at a breakneck speed. I could not keep up with it, so I had to forfeit the cash prize for that. But I did do the other ones as we're going through here. But once I got a little bit more money in my pocket, I decided it's time to journey off to Oasis Town. So I go back outside the city gates. I head off to the left-hand side this time, and I'll start journeying through almost like a desert environment, or almost more like a rocky plateau at first. And there's these giant Medusa snakes that hop up and try to attack you. They can also shoot out like sonar to try to follow you if you try to run away. And if you try to attack and kill the Medusa creatures, they take a heck of a lot of hits to actually take them down. Like we're talking like probably 10 hits to take them down, and you still get the exact same reward that you would get from the snakes earlier in the game that took like 1 hit to take them out. And so the game is not balanced when it comes to actual rewards for the creatures that you're defeating. And so if you really want to farm inside the game, just simply go back to the easy creatures because the rewards are almost exactly the same, and just simply when you get to these creatures, run away or try to avoid them because the reward is not high enough to actually want to attack them. Now once you get to the plateau here, there's a little ladder off to the left hand side. You take it down and you get to the true desert itself. When you go through here, there's going to be more of like scorpion ladies. They're going to try to attack you. They are way less tough than the Medusa, so it's actually worth trying to kill them off. And there's also these little centipedes that are going to come out, or worms, they're going to come out from the soil here and sort of basically sort of cause a barrier until you take them out. And if you've played Zelda 2, this is almost the exact same creature inside of Zelda 2, and the landscape is almost exactly the same as inside Zelda 2 as well. And that sort of got me thinking a little bit, how many similarities are there between this game and Zelda 2, The Adventure of Link? And it's not just this. The little spiders that came down from the trees that shot like little, I don't know, bullets out at you. That was in Zelda 2, and we're going to have a whole lot more come up here in a little bit, even more, I guess, damning Zelda 2 ripoffs than even the little desert centipede here. But just wait for it. We got a lot of Zelda 2 stuff coming up in this video. Now, when we get to Oasis Town, you're going to be pretty much, the same stuff once again. You got your bathhouse, you got your save house, you got all the normal stuff. There's a new thing called gecko racing, and you can basically bet on if you think your gecko is going to get to the top, basically on just simply rolling of dice. It's gambling. It's completely random. There's no skill involved in this. If you want to take the chance, you can lose a lot of money, but you can also get a lot of money here. And so sort of, plan accordingly. But the main story route you want to go to, or the main building here, is the hatchery, and there's a character named Sky here, and Sky basically raises like different birds and whatnot to repopulate the sky. And we say that we're trying to get into the Golem Mine, and she says that she cannot help us get into the Golem Mine because she's too busy at the hatchery, but she will send one of her favorite birds, Wrench, in order to help us out at the Golem Mine. And I really do enjoy that they named the bird Wrench, because when you do travel to the Golem Mine, what we're going to get to in a second, Wrench comes down, and in order to open up the mine, has to like hook itself into like the little screws here, and has to like turn them just like a wrench. I don't know. Feel like something that like Banjo-Kazooie would do as far as like the naming. Pretty clever, but you have to travel back out into the desert, head off west, and you're going to go to another desert, and instead of female scorpions, it could be male scorpions. A really weird attack here. They like stab their stinger down to the ground, and they stand very straight, and then their stinger comes up elsewhere to try to attack you. It's a weird little animation that it's just weird. And then you continue on, you eventually do get to the Golem Mine. Like I said, Wrench comes down, unscrews it, opens it up here, and you can head on into the Golem Mine. Now, this is a really cool looking level, almost like a honeycomb type level. Here, you have like these little rock crabs throughout at the same time. But when you get to the main part, there's a shaft here that you have to get on, like a little elevator, and you go up and down, and you can explore different areas off the shaft here. And what does this look exactly like? This is exactly like any of the palaces inside of Zelda 2. The mechanics here are literally identical as far as like going up and down, trying to get off in different areas. They had to have known what they were borrowing from. There are too many references in the game, but the gameplay itself in the Golem Mine here, it is just like a direct reference to Zelda 2. Now, as far as like puzzles go inside this labyrinth, you're going to have like little red geysers and little blue geysers. And when you get in there, it's going to paint you red or blue. And you can only access certain areas if you are certain colors here. And so like little platforms are going to come out to try to block you if you've not painted yourself accordingly. As far as puzzles go for labyrinths, that's probably my least favorite one. But when you do get to the Guardian here, she's going to give you an amazing dance. It's going to be probably my favorite dance inside the entire game. It's going to allow you to transform into an elephant. And the animations for an elephant are just top tier here. You have the B button, which is like an attack, and you can sort of do a mass like rush or slide with the elephant, or a dash. That's the right word I'm looking for. And you can dash into like rock formations or like stalactites and stalagmites, bust them apart. You can bust doors down. You can bust rock structures open as well. It's just a really cool mechanic. It's going to open up plenty of places inside this particular level, but also in the overworld as well. I mean, it is a Metroidvania here. And so eventually, as the elephant, you're going to bash through enough places. You're going to find Risky Boots. She's getting ready to steal the Golem Stone. Before she can do that, wouldn't you know it, the giant guardian of the Golem Stone comes out. It's a giant hippo here. She pushes Risky Boots off to the side, and you have to basically transform into the elephant, hop on top of its hands, bash into the side of its head. It's going to reveal the little stone on top of its head. You have to jump up there, do a couple little hair whips. If you know what you're doing, you can take him out in pretty much like 1 or 2 turns. And at this point, you are going to have access to get the Golem Stone for yourself. So now you have 2 of the 4 stones, and Risky Boots has 0. Now, once you get out of the Golem Mine, Wrench is going to tell you that the next stone is going to be located east of Watertown in a place called Zombie Caravan. And there's a character named Roddy Tops who's going to help you find the next stone. So I warp back over to Watertown, purchase any items that I need, heal myself up at the bathhouse, and I head off east, journeying toward Zombie Caravan. Now, obviously, there's going to be more of your haunted area of the game. You come through here, you have the Grim Reapers who are going to try to attack you. You have these little Goomba-looking creatures. I mean, I don't know. It reminds me a good bit of Goombas from Mario. But then in the next area you get here, you have these giant snails that are going to try to attack you. And it's a really cool animation. You simply have to continue hitting the snail's head, and he pulls back into the shell and sort of goes down a little bit. You have these praying mantis looking critters. Once again, I think they might be possessed by the Tinkerbats from earlier. Not sure. But it could just be the animation style they're using. You do get to the zombie swamp here. You have to fight the zombies off. When you hit the zombies, their head flies off. They continue to move. You have to continue to attack them. They're fairly hard to take out, especially when like multiple of them come out of the ground at a single time. But once again, like there's no great reward for doing that. So if you just simply want to run past them, I don't blame you in one bit here. And you do see the next dungeon, what's going to be the next dungeon. Obviously, you can't access it yet. You have to continue on to the next area because you got to get Roddy Tops to help you unlock it here. And when you get to the next area, it's going to be like a graveyard. And the graveyard here, you can't tell me once again, they're not pulling from Zelda 2 because they have these little slimes that are going to flop back and forth, divide just like the slimes in Zelda 2. And you have these one-eyeballed ghosts that are going to come flying through the air as well, just like in Zelda 2. They borrowed so many enemies and so many mechanics from Zelda 2. You can't tell me they were not fans of that game, at least when they were crafting this one. Now, when you get to the Zombie Caravan town, it's going to have the same overall town look here. You pan around. Of course, you can talk to all the residents here if you want like some hints inside the game. They do give you some fairly good hints. But all the main stuff is going to be exactly the same. And you want to talk to Roddy Tops. Now, Roddy Tops will tell you that she will help you, but you are also pretty delicious looking, and she might end up eating you if she helps you. And you're like, well, I'm going to take my chances. Just simply meet me over here at that mausoleum or whatnot and help me get in there. But she still doesn't believe us, and we have to beat her in a race here. And the race is pretty simple. You just simply have to jump over little columns here or slide under the little trees and get to the end before she does. Not too bad to go through. And then when you do that, she does agree to help you. But she warns you once again, like, hey, I might eat your brains. And we're like, it's fine. And so we meet her over here at the, I guess, the Mausoleum of sorts. She gets there, great animation, like kicks her leg up, has like a little bone for the leg, puts it in as like a little key, turns the key and says, like, have at it. The Mausoleum is all yours. So now we're going to try to find our next stone. Now, inside this level here, we're going to have some real doozies for new enemies. We're going to have this Pharaoh here that's going to look a heck of a lot like Mr. Burns from The Simpsons. Like, even when you hit him, he, like, recoils back, and it looks just so much like a Mr. Burns animation for me. I just love that. You also have this terrifying creature. He's like a shadow plague doctor, I'm going to call it. And I don't know if he's really difficult necessarily, but just a really cool looking enemy, very terrifying, something you see in your nightmares. You also have these cat lady demons that are going to hop up, have like little whips coming out trying to hit you as well. Definitely the most difficult enemy inside the level here. But as far as puzzles go, you're pretty much going to have the same puzzle every single time. You have like a little eyeball inside of a canister here or a jar. You burst the eyeball open, or burst the canister open, not the eyeball. This ain't the first level, come on now. And then you hit the eyeball around till it goes inside the golem here, or the statue, and it opens up. and gives you a key. Now, it seemed pretty easy at first, but I came across some of these. I put the eyeball in there and nothing would happen. I'd be like, oh, that's weird. And I didn't know what to do. I had to look it up online. It turns out you had to knock the eyeball back out of the statue, and you had to do it like multiple times in order to get it to face the right direction. And that got really confusing because I was like, I didn't really know what to do in those instances. So I did use a strategy guide for that because I was just confused on how to advance. But once you do all of that, you unlock, get your keys and whatnot. Progress through it. You're going to get to the Guardian here, and she's going to give you the ability to dance and turn into a spider. It's going to allow you to basically cling onto the back wall of the levels anytime there's a spider web, and then later on in the game, anytime there's like a wire finish, and you can basically traverse those areas of the level that you normally could not traverse. Now, obviously, we eventually get to Risky Boots by using the spider, and once we get there, Risky Boots trying to take the stone away. She gets swatted away by the protector of the stone, who turns out to be a giant beast here that can roll themselves up into a ball and roll around the arena, and all you have to do is wait for them to stop rolling around the arena, hit them a few times with your hair, they're going to turn to a ball again, roll some more, and it's just simply a repeat on that particular process. Take them out, not necessarily particularly difficult. None of the bosses in the game are what I'd call like really difficult until you get to the final boss, which we're going to get to here in a little bit. And at this point, we go back to Roddy, and they tell me that the final stone, the Twinkle Stone, is at a place called Mount Pointy, which is going to be on the other side of Oasis Town. And so we need to go back all the way over to the far left-hand side of the map. And as we're journeying out this way, we do have to go through what I'm going to call Symbiote Land, because you get through here, and there are these symbiotes that look like Venom from Spider-Man here popping up or hanging down from the ceiling. There's even one part where like a frog jumps out, clearly wearing like what looks like a symbiote suit here, trying to attack you. A really interesting level, and I don't think you can get through it without being hit at least once, because like the ones that come down from the ceiling, I don't really know how to avoid those particular ones. But you continue on, you do get to another forest area here, and we have like these eagle warriors that are going to come down and try to attack you. And I just got done playing the beta testing for Elden Ring Night Rain a while back, and it's coming out possibly the same time, around this time this video is going to be published. But there's an eagle warrior in Night Rain. It looks very similar to this, even has like almost the same weapon and whatnot. And I'm not saying Elden Ring ripped it off. Man, they're pretty close. But I'm sure there's other eagle warriors throughout fantasy fiction and whatnot and all of that. But you do eventually get to the town here, and when you go to speak to the main person who's going to progress the storyline, it's a genie here. Clearly it's Risky Boots, but we're not supposed to know that according to the overall story. But we can read the hints here. Same color scheme as Risky Boots. Same sort of attitude. Refuses to give you her name like Risky Boots would. And so she basically says, here, I'll help you. I'll take you, I'll help you get right into the Twinkle Stone mine up at the mountains here. And just meet me there. I hope you get in there. So obviously it's a trap, but hey, we got to continue on the storyline here. We go through a forest, or a snow forest to get up there. And we have the best enemy in the entire game. We have a turtle here that you can pull inside its shell, and it's an igloo. That is like a genius level creation for an enemy. I love it to the highest degree. It shoots fire, which is weird, but whatever. The fire, they could have done without that. But the turtle turns into an igloo. Top tier enemy creation, and I'm glad they put it inside the game. But we do use the spider to get all the way up to the top of the Eagle Mountain, or Twinkle Town Mountain, or Twinkle Stone Mountain, whatever it's called. We get up there, we head in there, and once we get in there, the main gimmick for this one is going to be that core mini bosses are frozen. We have to use the elephant to bust them out, defeat them in order to get keys, or in order to advance in some cases. We also have these like little spin puzzles where there's like four little stones up there. You spin them around to make an image. When you make the image, a key is going to pop out for those as well. We have these little circle spinners in the level where it shoots you in different directions, like the barrel blast in Donkey Kong Country. You journey through, try to find the right paths in that way as well. And when you do get to the genie, she's going to give you the new power, or the new dance here, of being able to turn into a bird, a crow. I've been getting into the video. I don't really know what type of winged beast you are, but you're a winged beast here, and you can fly throughout the entire level now, and pretty much carefree. And also in the overworld, you can fly throughout the entire overworld as well. So a very cool power to get here. Now when you get to the final boss here, the one who's guarding the Twinkle Stone, wouldn't you know it, Risky Boots isn't here for some weird reason, but we do have to fight the boss. It's basically a giant dragon with a little warrior on top of it here, and all you have to do is fly up above them with your your new dance here. Flop down on their head, they go down to the bottom, and then you, of course, you hit them a few times with your hair, and then they fly back up, and you just repeat the process over and over and over until you've taken them out, and then you do get your hands on the Twinkle Stone. Oh, I almost forgot, before you get the Twinkle Stone, after you defeat the dragon warrior, or little hero here, he does hop off, and he runs back and forth frantically, because he obviously knows he's lost, his dragon's gone, you have to hit him with the hair, and he does go flying off. It's a funny animation, and I didn't want to continue the video and at least not include at some point or some degree, his little frantic fit. Now, once you get out of the cave here, as we expected, it is not the genie at all. It was Risky Boots in disguise. She then takes all the stones from you, goes into your inventory. She takes all of them and then says, thanks for gathering them all for me. Now I can complete my steam engine robotics project to take over the world and force everyone to pay their taxes that they've been denying me on. And so we're freaking out about this. We go back to Mimic. He tells us when you get to the highest place in the land in order to see if we can see and scout out where her hideout is. And I didn't know where to go. I mean, there's probably some town folk I could have talked to and whatnot. I just looked online. It told me to go outside into the desert area, fly this diagonal direction, and you eventually get to a telescope. And the telescope like has a personification. It has a personality of its own, and it basically says it'll help us out here. We just simply look through the telescope where we need to go, and then the telescope will teleport us to that area. We look through it. We find Risky Boots hideout. It teleports us over there to it, and it's basically like a island Tinker Bats factory of sorts. And so there's all kinds of Tinker Bats that are out here. We also have like one that looks like a tin manager journeying through it. The best part is like when the Tinker Bats try to escape from you and they go up on like a little column here, you convert yourself over into the elephant, slam into the column, and then all the Tinker Bats come falling down. I mean, like I said, there's fun animations throughout the game. The charm is definitely there. As they're working through it, you have to use the monkey to try to explore some pipes as you go. You have to use the spider to traverse over some levels. You have to use the bird power to fly through areas. They're basically trying to make you use everything in one level, which is exactly what all games or all good games try to do. Get to the end level, they want you to review all of your powers to make sure you have mastered everything that the game has put forth. And when you do eventually get to Risky herself, and she says she's already crafted the tank with the steam engine, and it's a really cool boss fight because it's this giant creation here, this giant machine. And obviously you can't defeat the machine on your own. And so you have to go up to the top. You have to fly into it. And once you get into the machine, you have to go to all the little gears here. You have to blow up the gears, and it's going to expose the stone that she is using to power the machine. Then you have to destroy the stones. And once you've destroyed all of those, then the machine is destroyed. It comes crumbling down to the ground. Risky Boots is very upset with you. And so now it's going to be a one-on-one of you versus Risky Boots. And she is a fairly tough boss here. But there are some key strategies that I figured out that really help the battle. And that's going to be like when she's sort of standing off to the side. If you get close to her, she's going to attack you, or she's going to jump over you, hit you in the process. If you just simply bend down or duck down, get close to her, and whip your hair out at a ground level, you can hit her. She'll jump up in the air, and she won't be able to hit you if you're on the ground like that. You just continue to replicate the same strategy over and over and over until you're done with the first stage of the fight. Now, in the second stage, she can jump up in the air here and do like a little diagonal kick, try to hit you, but she'll still circle back to the same strategy we mentioned earlier. Stand off to the side, you go up, crawl around, and then whip your hair out and hit her on the ground floor. And you can continue that same strategy. But the third phase of the fight here, like I couldn't even figure out like how to hit her. My strategy wouldn't work. I'd use my hair whip. That wouldn't work. The only way I could actually hit her is if I actually transformed into the elephant and did like a mad dash into her. That's the only way I could actually hit her. That's obviously not how the game was meant to do it. That's the only way that I could figure it out. I'd get hit in the process. I simply had enough life stored up or enough extra life stored up. I could sacrifice a few. And once you've done that enough times, she does admit defeat and the entire place begins to blow up. We have to convert ourselves back over into the bird creature. And then we begin to fly out of the explosions. Little piece of the explosion or beginning to try to hit you. You just simply stay off to the far right-hand side of the wall. You don't get hit by hardly any of them, and you can fly out of the explosion here. And when you get out, you're basically sort of teleported into like a different dimension of sorts. And it's like all dark here, and then like the genies begin to appear. And the voice tells us that we've finally done enough good deeds, so we no longer have to be a half genie. We can convert ourselves over to being a full genie if we want to, but we'll have to give up all of our connections to humanity if we go that route. And Shantae doesn't want to lose all of her friends, Mimic, all these new friends that she's made, and says, you know what? I'm going to settle for being a half genie. I don't want to be a full genie because I don't want to lose all of my friends. And she journeys back down to her town of Scuttle Town to continue being the guardian down there. She does have to confront and tell the mayor the truth and says like, hey, I'm not actually a full genie. I'm a half genie. And the mayor's like, I don't care. I mean, I get you for half price. And it's like a funny little ending there. And so we've saved the town. We've defeated Risky Boots. We are true to ourselves. We know we're able to perform like a genie, even though we're a half genie. We're able to save everyone where the truth is out. And so overall, a happy ending for Shantae and all of the fellow workers or all the fellow villagers of Scuttle Town. Now, at this point, the credits do begin to roll. We get like a little cutscene in the background of the Tinker Bats fixing up Shantae's house here, and we're sort of relaxing, watching them fix it. And then at the very, very end, we get like a nice little postcard type scene of everybody as well. And so overall, this is a fantastic game. The platforming elements are top tier. The graphics are top tier. The amount of foreground and background stuff that they could do on the Game Boy Color is beyond anything I've seen inside of a platforming game. The ability to be able to transform into all these different creatures and whatnot. It's a little bit like Samson's, that's a rare game on the NES. Little Samson. It reminds me a little bit of that at the same time. And so the ability to do all of that, to explore like an overworld here, like a true Metroidvania, there is so much good about this game. It'd be tough not to recommend it to pretty much anybody out there who just enjoys retro games. Are there a few flaws in the game? Yeah, there are a few things. The idea that all the creatures simply give you the same amount of money every time you kill them, it does lead you to not necessarily wanting to defeat the later creatures in the game and do more like a run past. That's something that could be fixed in future games, and it probably was fixed in future games. This is just simply the very first iteration of this franchise. And then also the idea that the screen is a little bit zoomed in, so it's sometimes hard to see, like when you're making jumps and whatnot, if you're going to fall and like hit a spiked pit. And so there is a little bit of, I don't know, I guess I call it like artificial difficulty on that, because you do die sometimes. You're like, well, there was no way I could have avoided that. There's no way I knew a spiked pit was down there while I made that random jump and whatnot. And so there's that. And then also like the music in the game. It wasn't bad music by any means. It just simply was never like a tune that like really got stuck in my head or like humming to myself as I was going along. And so like music was just sort of average for the most part, which, you know, music is subjective, so you might enjoy the music more than me. But for me, music was somewhat not my favorite. But overall, fantastic game in almost every single way. Those are very, very minor complaints for the overall experience. I'm probably going to give the game a... I can't think of any platform that's probably going to perform better. 9 out of 10. That's what we're going to go with. It's a really great game, and I highly recommend it. It's one of the best platformers I've played on the system, and I think you would enjoy it as well. But if you enjoyed the video, be sure to like and subscribe to the channel. Check out my other videos listed up above, and go out there, find a great game to play. Simply have a great rest of the day.